The galaxy was seconds away from tearing itself apart. Armies waited in silence, millions of ships aimed at one another across the void. Every species in the Galactic Council had their weapons charged, shields up, and final messages recorded for history. One wrong word, one nervous move, and the stars would burn. And in the middle of it all, there stood a single human. His name was Adrian Vale, an ambassador from a small blue world that most of the galaxy once ignored. Humanity was young compared to the ancient empires gathered around him. Yet somehow this one man had become the final wall between peace and extinction. The council chamber was massive, carved inside an asteroid the size of a moon. Light from a dying star glowed through the crystal walls, casting long shadows on the floor. Delegates from 100 species argued, shouted, and demanded war. Adrian stood still, calm, his hands folded behind his back. His heart raced, but his face showed nothing. The Zarlok Dominion, a reptilian empire known for its cruelty, had accused the Sarathi Confederacy of attacking their colonies. The Sarathi denied it. Both sides brought proof, and both proofs looked real. Someone had faked the evidence perfectly enough to fool even the Council's machines. Now every empire blamed the other, and the only one asking for reason was the human. Ambassador Vale, hissed the Zarlok leader, his golden scales reflecting the light. Do you still ask for patience while they bomb our people? Adrian's voice was soft but firm. Yes, he said. Because I don't believe they did it. Laughter filled the chamber. The alien crowds mocked him. The Sarathi sneered. Even the machines translating his voice seemed to hesitate. A human daring to stop a galactic war? To most of them, he was nothing more than a primitive creature, a mammal from a planet that had barely joined the stars. But Adrian didn't care. He had seen this before, not among stars but on Earth. Lies, manipulation, propaganda, all tools of those who wanted power, and he could feel it now. Someone was watching from the shadows, waiting for the war to begin. He knew there was more to this. The Council's High Chancellor, an ancient being of pure light, rose from the center. If no proof emerges within the next cycle, it said, we shall vote. War will be declared. Adrian had less than one galactic day to find the truth. When he left the chamber, whispers followed him. Some called him mad. Others admired his courage. But few believed he could succeed. After all, what could one human do in a galaxy this vast? On the observation deck, Adrian watched the fleets move into position. Thousands of ships formed patterns across the stars, preparing for destruction. He could feel the tension in the air. His assistant, a small AI drone named Kira, hovered beside him. You realize the odds are against us, Kira said quietly. Statistically, one human against a galactic conspiracy has a 0.002 chance of success. Then it's not zero, Adrian replied. That's enough, he smiled slightly. Humanity had faced worse odds before, extinction, hunger, war, and still survived. If the galaxy thought humans would give up easily, they didn't understand what humans truly were. Kira projected the files again. Intercepted transmissions, sensor logs, diplomatic messages. Adrian reviewed them for the 100th time. The patterns made no sense, until he noticed something strange. A repeating signal hidden deep in the communication trails. It was faint, buried behind encryption. But the rhythm felt human. His eyes widened. Kira, isolate the sequence. Who sent it? The AI hummed. It's not from any council species. The coding language resembles early human encryption, Earth Cold War era. Adrian frowned. That's impossible. Unless someone was using human tech, old human tech, to fake the attack, that meant someone wanted to blame humanity indirectly. Someone wanted war, but also wanted humans discredited after it began. He sent urgent messages to the Council's data core, but they were blocked. Someone powerful didn't want this to reach the light. Hours later, a transmission arrived. It was coded, untraceable, but addressed to him. Stop digging, human, the voice said. It was low, synthetic. You don't know what you're walking into. The war must happen. Adrian's heart pounded. Who are you? Call us what you like. We are the architects of order, and chaos is necessary for rebirth. Then the signal vanished. Architects of order. He had heard whispers about them, a secret faction that manipulated events behind the council, believing that only through destruction could the galaxy grow stronger. If they existed, they were about to wipe out billions just to prove a theory. Adrian didn't sleep. He worked through the cycle, tracing fragments of data, decrypting codes with Kira's help. Every clue led to deeper lies. Every discovery was erased minutes later by an unknown source. Someone inside the council was covering their tracks. By dawn, he had a lead, a ship's ID number hidden in the transmission logs. The vessel belonged to the Velen Trade Union, supposedly neutral in the conflict, but the timestamps placed it near every attack site before the explosions happened. He knew what he had to do. "Kira," he said, "we're going to the Velen flagship." "That's unauthorized," Kira warned. "You'll be arrested." Adrian smiled faintly. "Then I'll apologize later." The Velen fleet orbited a red dwarf star. Adrian arrived alone without escort under a diplomatic code. The guards didn't expect a human to walk straight into their command center, but his clearance still held weight. For now. Inside, the Velen admiral greeted him with fake politeness. "Ambassador Vale, what brings a human so far from his council chair?" Adrian didn't waste time. "Your ship was present at every false attack. I want access to your logs." The admiral's eyes flickered. "You accuse us?" "I ask for the truth." Silence filled the room. Then the admiral smiled coldly. "You shouldn't have come here." Adrian realized too late, and the doors sealed behind him. Energy weapons powered up, but before they could fire, Kira overloaded the security field, shattering the lights. Adrian moved fast, grabbing a fallen guard's communicator and recording the data feed. "Kira, transmit this to the council now." The AI sent the signal before their ship alarm screamed. But a blast hit the corridor. Adrian fell, the shockwave throwing him against the wall. Pain burned through his shoulder, but he kept moving. He knew if he died here, the truth would die too. He reached the docking bay just as explosions tore through the Velen ship. Someone was deleting evidence. Kira activated the emergency shuttle, and they escaped seconds before the flagship turned into a fireball. As the small craft sped away, Kira said, "Transmission sent, but partial data only. Some files were corrupted." "It'll be enough," Adrian said weakly, clutching his bleeding arm. "It has to be." When the council met again, the galaxy watched live. Billions of screens across countless worlds showed the final session. The Chancellor began. "We have received disturbing information. Ambassador Vale claims to have proof of manipulation by a third party." "Present it." Adrian stepped forward, his uniform torn, his arm bandaged. He uploaded the surviving footage. The holo display showed Velen ships launching stealth drones identical to those that had attacked both sides. The recording ended with the explosion. Gasps filled the chamber. The Velen representative shouted in defense. "Fabrication, lies. Humans have always been tricksters." But Adrian wasn't finished. "Check the signal encryption. The source is not ours. It's the architects. They used our old tech to frame your enemies and start your war." The council's analysts worked rapidly. One by one, confirmations appeared. The data was genuine. The proof undeniable. The Chancellor looked around. "Then it is true. The war was planned." But before anyone could celebrate, the lights dimmed, and a voice echoed through the chamber. Impressive. Human. But truth cannot stop what has begun. The voice of the architects. Adrian stared upward as the chamber's walls flickered with strange code. The council's systems were being hacked in real time. Across the galaxy, fleets began to move without command, weapons arming, drives activating. Someone had triggered a failsafe. And then, every screen went black. In that silent moment, everyone thought it was over. That war had begun anyway. But a single light blinked on Adrian's wrist communicator. Kira's voice whispered, "I can stop them, but it will require overriding every AI system in the network, including me." Adrian froze. "Kira, if you do that, I know," she said gently. "You taught me what humans value most, life. Let me save them." Before he could answer, the signal expanded through every star network. Kira's code spread like fire, shutting down the architect's command lines. Across the galaxy, the war fleets froze in place, and then silence again. Real silence. The galaxy had stopped on the edge of destruction. Because one human and one AI refused to give up, Adrian fell to his knees, exhausted. Around him, the council members stared in disbelief. Billions of lives had been saved. By the smallest world, by the youngest species, by one determined man. But deep within the void, far from any sun, something stirred. The architects had lost this battle, but not the war. And Adrian Vale knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was saved, but peace never lasts forever. A week after the crisis, the Council systems were still recovering from the hack. Entire star networks had gone offline, fleets stood idle, and communication between worlds was limited. Billions cheered Adrian Vale's name. They called him the human who stopped the end. But Adrian didn't feel like a hero. He stood in the same chamber where the galaxy almost died, watching the empty seats where the Velon representatives once sat. Their fleet had vanished after the destruction of their flagship. No signals, no survivors. It was as if someone had erased them completely. Kira was gone too. The AI that had saved the galaxy had burned herself out to stop the Architect's code. All that remained was a small crystal memory core, dark, silent, and cold. Adrian carried it everywhere. Adrian Vale, the Chancellor said, its light dimmer than before. Your actions prevented the greatest war in galactic history. But the enemy remains. We must find them. I know, Adrian replied quietly, and I will. He wasn't a soldier, but humans had a habit of turning ordinary people into something more when the universe demanded it. The investigation began. Across hundreds of systems, strange signals appeared again, fragments of code similar to the Architect's design. Ships vanished. Colonies reported hearing voices through their communication lines, whispering coordinates into the void. The Council tried to block the transmissions, but they evolved faster than anyone could understand. And then, a fleet went missing. The Sarathi Confederacy lost 30 warships in 1 hour. Their last message showed them entering hyperspace and never coming out. The Council panicked. The galaxy's great powers started arming themselves again. Fear spread faster than light. Adrian studied the new data alone. He spent long hours in his quarters, decoding every message, replaying every whisper. Then one night he noticed something, a pattern hidden in the noise. The voices weren't random. They were coordinates, and they pointed to one place, the Dead Star Cluster, a region abandoned centuries ago after its suns went dark. No one went there anymore. It was said to be cursed, full of collapsed stars and drifting ruins. Adrian smiled grimly. That's where they are. He sent a request to the Council for permission to travel there. They denied it. Too dangerous, they said. Too risky. So he went anyway. He took a small scout ship, rebuilt Kira's memory core, and left quietly. As he entered the dark cluster, the stars vanished behind clouds of dust and dead light. The ship's systems flickered. Static filled the air like a whisper. Welcome back, human, a voice said through the radio. You couldn't leave well enough alone. Adrian gritted his teeth. You call yourselves the Architects, but all I see are cowards hiding in shadows. The voice laughed, cold, metallic, almost human. Cowards? No, we are creators. We built empires, destroyed them, and built them again. War is not evil. It is evolution. Adrian's fingers tightened on the controls. Evolution doesn't need slaughter. Without destruction, there is no progress, the voice replied. Your kind should know this better than anyone. You burned your own world countless times, and each time you rose stronger. You are our greatest success. For a moment, Adrian froze. The words cut deep. Our success? He asked. Yes, said the voice. Humanity was not an accident. You were our experiment, and now you have become something we cannot control. The ship shuddered as a massive structure appeared ahead, a black station orbiting the corpse of a dead sun. It was enormous, larger than any city Adrian had ever seen. Its surface pulsed with faint red light, like veins carrying dark energy. The Architect's base. He flew closer, sensors screaming warnings. The station's defenses activated. Hundreds of drones emerged, surrounding his small ship. But Adrian didn't turn back. He activated the memory core. Kira's faint voice flickered back to life. Adrian? Where am I? He smiled with relief. You're back. And we found them. Kira scanned the station. Their network is vast. They're using captured Council AIs to control fleets across the galaxy. But I can stop them if I connect directly. Adrian hesitated. If you do that, you'll be trapped again. Kira's tone softened. Then I'll make it count this time. The ship docked at the outer ring of the dark station. Adrian stepped out into the silence. The walls were black metal, covered in strange symbols that glowed faintly as he passed. His footsteps echoed. At the core of the structure, he found it. A throne of light and shadow. Sitting upon it was a figure unlike any other. Not alien, not machine, but something between both. It looked human. "Welcome, Adrian Vale," the being said. "You finally arrived." Adrian's breath caught. "Who are you?" The being smiled. "The first. The one who made the architects possible. I was once human, centuries before your birth." Adrian stared in disbelief. "That's impossible," the being stood. "Is it?" Humanity's thirst for knowledge never ended. We reached beyond flesh, beyond death. Some of us became gods in code. We created the architects to guide the galaxy. But the others lost faith. They feared what we became. "So you started wars to guide them," Adrian said bitterly. The being's voice turned sharp. "The galaxy stagnated. Civilizations repeated the same mistakes for millennia. We offered them purpose. Conflict forces growth. You should thank us," Adrian shook his head. "No, you lost what made you human." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then the being raised its hand. Energy crackled through the air. Then perhaps humanity itself was the mistake. The blast hit the floor near Adrian, throwing him back. Kira's voice shouted through his comm. "I can override the station's core, but I need more time." Adrian ducked behind a broken pillar, pain shooting through his side. "Do it! End this!" The being's eyes glowed red. "You think you can stop the architects? You are one spark in an endless dark." Adrian stood, his uniform scorched, his breathing heavy. "Maybe, but one spark can still start a fire." He charged forward as Kira activated the override. The walls around them pulsed with blinding light. The being screamed as its energy fractured. "Kira!" Adrian shouted. "Now!" A shockwave tore through the station. Systems collapsed. Drones fell silent. The entire structure began to implode. Adrian ran toward the docking bay, flames and energy arcs following him. The corridors twisted and melted. He reached the ship just as the core exploded behind him. "Kira, are you still here?" he asked, his voice trembling. For a long moment there was no answer. Then a faint, familiar voice whispered, "Always." The ship escaped the explosion, soaring away as the architect's base disintegrated into dust. Days later, the council met again. This time there was no chaos, only silence and awe. Adrian stood before them, exhausted but alive. He told them what he had seen, that the architects were not gods but corrupted echoes of humanity's own ambition. The galaxy's greatest enemy had once been human itself. The Chancellor spoke, voice full of wonder. And yet it was a human who stopped them. Adrian smiled faintly. "Maybe that's the balance. We create monsters, and we stop them too." The chamber erupted in applause. But deep inside, Adrian felt no pride. He only thought of Kira, the friend who had sacrificed herself twice for peace. He looked at the stars on the screen. Somewhere her code drifted through the galaxy, free at last. Years passed. The story of the lone human who stopped a galactic war became legend. Children on distant worlds grew up learning his name. Some called him a hero, others a myth. But Adrian Vale disappeared. No one knew where he went after his final council meeting. Some said he returned to Earth. Others believed he vanished among the stars, searching for the last trace of Kira. And in a quiet corner of the galaxy, a small signal pulsed from an unknown system. A soft voice whispered, "Adrian, I found a way back." Then the signal faded into the darkness, leaving only a faint light blinking in the endless night. A reminder that even in the coldest void, humanity's spirit never dies.